You wake up. You check your face in the mirror. A new line near your eye. A little more gray near your temple. You tell yourself it's normal, but the real answer is far stranger. Your body was never designed to do this. Not this long. Not this slowly falling apart. Evolution never built a blueprint for an 80-year-old human. It built something else entirely, and you were living inside the leftover version of it. Think about that for a second. Your knees ache walking upstairs. Your skin loses its bounce. Your eyesight blurs at the edges. None of this was planned. None of this was designed. It's an accident, a byproduct, a glitch that nobody fixed because nobody needed to. Why? For almost all of human history, you didn't get old. You got eaten. You got infected. You starved. You died in childbirth, in a hunting accident, in a fight over territory. The wild world killed you decades before your body would have started breaking down on its own. So evolution never had a reason to build you a body that ages well. It only needed a body that survived long enough to make more bodies. That's the whole secret. And once you understand it, you'll never look at a wrinkle the same way again. Let's go back, way back. 200,000 years, give or take. Early humans on the plains of East Africa. Life expectancy at birth was somewhere around 30 years. Not because everyone dropped dead at 30, because so many people died as infants, as children, as young adults, that the average collapsed downward. If you made it past childhood, if you survived the diseases and the predators and the falls and the fights, you actually had a decent shot at reaching 40, 50, even 60. Grandparents existed, elders existed, but they were rare, precious, statistical outliers in a world engineered for early death. And evolution, ruthless and indifferent, only cares about one thing: passing on genes before something kills you. This is where it gets interesting. In 1957, an evolutionary biologist named George Williams proposed an idea that would eventually reshape how scientists understand aging itself. He called it antagonistic pleiotropy, a complicated name for a brutally simple idea. Some genes help you when you're young. The exact same genes hurt you when you're old. Picture a gene that makes your bones grow fast and strong in childhood. Great. That gene helps you survive, hunt, reproduce. But that same gene, decades later, might make your bones more brittle, more prone to fracture. Evolution doesn't care. By the time that gene turns against you, you've already had your children. You've already passed on your DNA. The gene did its job. Its later damage is invisible to natural selection, because natural selection only sees what happens before you reproduce. Your body isn't broken by accident. It's broken by neglect. Evolution built you a machine optimized for your 20s and simply walked away after that. Scientists have found real examples of this trade-off hiding inside human biology. Take a gene called P53. It's one of the most important cancer-suppressing genes you have. Early in life, it aggressively kills off damaged cells before they can turn cancerous. That's a huge advantage for a young body. But that same aggressive cell-killing behavior, sustained over decades, appears to accelerate tissue depletion and contribute to the wear and thinning you associate with old age. The gene that protects you at 20 may be quietly costing you at 70. Same gene, same code, completely different consequences depending on which decade of your life it's operating in. Or think about iron. Your body needs it desperately when you're young, especially for building blood and muscle during growth and reproduction. But iron also oxidizes tissue over time, contributing to slow, cumulative cellular damage across a lifetime. A resource that builds you up early becomes a resource that wears you down late. Antagonistic pleiotropy isn't a rare edge case. Once you know to look for it, it shows up almost everywhere inside your biology. Here's a question. If evolution only cares about your reproductive years, why do you keep living decades past them? That question has an answer too, and it's almost as strange as the first one. In the 1970s, a biologist named Thomas Kirkwood introduced something called the disposable soma theory. Soma just means body, as opposed to your reproductive cells. Kirkwood argued that your body has limited energy. It has to divide that energy between two competing jobs: keeping your cells repaired and pristine, or investing in reproduction and passing on genes. You can't max out both. No organism can. So evolution makes a trade. It invests just enough energy into keeping your body's cells maintained to get you through your reproductive years successfully. After that, the investment drops off. Repair slows down. Damage accumulates faster than it gets fixed. Your body, in other words, is disposable. Once it's done its evolutionary job, spreading your genes into the next generation, it doesn't need to last forever. It just needs to have lasted long enough. That's not a flaw in the design, that's the entire design. Look at how uneven this trade-off actually is across different animals. A mouse pours almost all its energy into rapid reproduction and almost none into cellular repair. It lives fast and dies within a couple of years, worn out by its own biology. A tortoise does the opposite. It reproduces slowly, invests heavily in maintenance and repair, and can live well past 100 years. Neither strategy is better in some absolute sense. Each is simply the right bet for that animal's environment and risks. Humans landed somewhere in between, but skewed toward repair, because a human infant takes years to become independent. A body that fell apart at 30 wouldn't have time to raise a child to self-sufficiency. So evolution invested more into your maintenance budget than it gave the mouse, but still not nearly enough to keep you running smoothly at 90. You got a better disposable soma deal than most animals on the planet. You didn't get an infinite one. And this budget shows up in specific, familiar ways. Around your 40s and 50s, muscle maintenance quietly starts losing the battle against muscle breakdown, a process researchers call sarcopenia. Your immune system begins running a low, chronic hum of inflammation in the background, sometimes nicknamed inflammaging, as its repair and monitor systems slowly lose precision. None of this is your body attacking itself. It's your body's maintenance budget, allocated hundreds of thousands of years ago for a much shorter mission, finally running short. Now zoom into your actual cells, because this is where the abstract theory becomes something you can almost see happening inside your own body. Every time a cell in your body divides, it copies its DNA. But there's a problem at the very tips of your chromosomes. Structures called telomeres, which act like the plastic tips on the end of a shoelace, stopping your genetic code from fraying and unraveling. Every single time your cells divide, those telomeres get a little shorter. It's an unavoidable cost of the copying process itself, and eventually, after enough divisions, the telomeres get too short to protect the DNA any further. In 1961, a scientist named Leonard Hayflick discovered that human cells don't divide forever. They divide a finite number of times, then stop. Somewhere around 50 divisions for most human cells. This limit is now called the Hayflick limit, and it was one of the first hard pieces of evidence that aging isn't some mysterious force. It's a countdown, built into the machinery of every cell in your body. Once a cell hits that limit, it doesn't necessarily die. Often it just stops dividing and sits there, a kind of biological retiree, sometimes even leaking inflammatory signals that quietly damage the tissue around it. Multiply that by billions of cells across decades, and you start to understand where wrinkles, stiff joints, and slower healing actually come from. You're not falling apart randomly, you're running out of copies. There's a reason your body doesn't just let telomeres run forever. Cells that somehow bypass the Hayflick limit and keep dividing indefinitely are, in fact, a recognizable phenomenon in biology. They're called cancer cells. The shortening telomere isn't purely a design failure. It's also a safety switch, a way of forcing damaged or overused cells to eventually stop dividing before they turn dangerous. Your body traded long-term durability for short-term protection against runaway cell growth. Given the world it evolved in, a world where surviving to reproduce mattered infinitely more than surviving to 90, that trade made sense. It still makes sense today, biologically speaking. It just wasn't built with your 90th birthday in mind. So here's the picture forming. Genes that help you young and betray you old. A body designed to repair itself only long enough to reproduce. Cells with a built-in expiration count. None of this sounds like a plan, and that's because it isn't one. It's the absence of a plan. Evolution simply never needed to solve the problem of long-term aging, because for nearly all of human history, almost nothing lived long enough for the problem to matter. But something changed. Something changed fast on an evolutionary timescale, and it changed everything. Modern medicine, clean water, vaccines, antibiotics, safer childbirth. In the span of about 200 years, human life expectancy roughly doubled in many parts of the world. 200 years is nothing to evolution. Evolution works across tens of thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years. It hasn't had remotely enough time to catch up to the world you're living in now. You are, in a very real sense, living in evolutionary overtime. Your body was optimized for a world where making it to 50 was already a triumph. Now you're expected to make it to 80, 90, sometimes past 100. And the ancient machinery inside you, the antagonistic genes, the disposable soma, the shrinking telomeres, was never built for that assignment. It's doing its best with instructions written for a completely different world. That's why your joints ache even though you never injured them. That's why your skin sags even though you took care of it. That's why your memory sometimes lags even though your mind still feels sharp inside. You're not malfunctioning, you're simply outliving your own design specifications. Consider your grandmother or your great-grandmother if she lived long past menopause. That itself is a strange evolutionary puzzle. Very few species have females who live for decades after the reproductive years end. Some researchers point to what's called the grandmother hypothesis, the idea that older women who stopped reproducing but kept helping raise grandchildren gave their family group a survival advantage, which is one reason menopause and long post-reproductive life may have stuck around in humans at all. Even the parts of aging that look like exceptions to the rule often turn out to be quietly explained by the same evolutionary logic, just applied one generation further out. Meanwhile, the mismatch keeps widening every single generation. Your ancestors ate when food was scarce and moved because movement was mandatory for survival. You can eat whenever you want and barely move all day if you choose to. Constant calorie surplus and constant stillness both accelerate exactly the kind of cellular damage your disposable soma budget was never designed to handle at this volume. It's not that modern life is inherently unhealthy. It's that modern life is unprecedented, and your biology hasn't had a single generation, let alone thousands, to adjust to it. Does that mean aging is unstoppable? Not exactly. Scientists studying centenarians, people who live past 100, have found something curious. Many of them don't have dramatically better genes for staying young. Instead, they often have genetic variants that seem to slow down the damage versus repair math Kirkwood described decades ago. Their bodies invest a little more in upkeep. Their cellular repair systems hold on a little longer before the trade-off tips toward decline. It's not a fountain of youth. It's a slightly better negotiated deal with the same basic biological contract everyone else is working under. Researchers studying populations with unusually high numbers of very old people, sometimes called blue zones, have noticed the same pattern again and again. It's rarely one dramatic secret. It's small, boring, repeated inputs. Regular movement built into daily life instead of squeezed into a gym session. Diets heavy in plants and light in processed sugar. Strong social ties that appear, in study after study, to correlate with lower chronic inflammation. None of these things stop the disposable soma trade-off from existing. They simply tilt the daily math, even slightly, back toward repair instead of damage, thousands of times over, across decades. And this reframes the entire conversation around aging. You're not trying to defeat some malicious force. You're trying to nudge a system that was never finished. Every hour of sleep you protect, every meal that isn't pure sugar and inflammation, every walk you take instead of another hour sitting still, is a small vote for repair over damage inside a body running on genetic instructions from 100,000 years ago. There's something almost tender about that idea once you sit with it. Your body isn't fighting against you. It's not sabotaging you out of some flaw. It's simply an ancient survival machine built for sprinting through youth and reproduction. Now asked to run a marathon it never trained for. Think back to that early human on the savannah, the one who might have lived to 40 if they were lucky, surrounded by children and grandchildren in the last precious years evolution ever intended for them. They never saw a mirror show them decades of decline. They didn't need one. Their biology and their lifespan were, in a strange way, in agreement. Yours isn't.
Yours has stretched past what your cells were quietly built to expect. And every gray hair, every stiff morning, every quiet ache is evidence not that something has gone wrong with you, but that something has gone right. You survive long enough for the mismatch to even become visible. So the next time you catch a new line on your face in the mirror, you don't have to read it as decay. Read it as proof. Proof that you outran the timeline your ancestors' bodies were ever designed for. Proof that you're living in the extra chapters evolution never got around to editing.
So the next time you catch a new line on your face in the mirror, you don't have to read it as decay. Read it as proof. Proof that you outran the timeline your ancestors' bodies were ever designed for. Proof that you're living in the extra chapters evolution never got around to editing. You wake up. You check your face in the mirror. A new line near your eye. A little more gray near your temple. And this time, you understand exactly why it's there. Not because your body failed you, but because it was never finished in the first place.